Hello Phoebe family, my name is Sarah Cornwell and I'm the lead therapist here at the Employee Assistance Program. Today we are here to address some of the questions that were submitted through our Ask EAP email in regards to grief. For teens, it's important to remember that their main support group is going to be their peer group. Now this does not mean that family and parents do not matter. However, we have to remember that oftentimes teens and adolescents are going to utilize their peer group as their main support group, and that probably also includes grief. The other thing we have to remember is reminding children, adolescents, and teens that grief is complex and it's ongoing. Oftentimes, grief can sometimes be delayed for children, adolescents, and teens because sometimes it takes them a little while longer to actually process what has happened or what has occurred. Again, questions are a good thing. So if you have a child, teen, or adolescent that is wanting to ask questions or have further details or understanding, this oftentimes is good. Again, remember, sometimes our teens and adolescents, they only want us to listen and validate their feelings and thoughts. It's not always about fixing the issue because unfortunately, we can't replace people. For so many of our teens and adolescents, the COVID pandemic has been very hard. It's been very hard because again, their main support system and support group is their peers. And during self-quarantine and self-isolating, being able to see their peers on a regular basis is somewhat limited. Some of our children and adolescents and our teens have adjusted with some of this by going back to school, but there are still a lot that are also doing school virtually. So we need to take this into account. So I realize in order to maintain social distancing, we also have to think uniquely on ways that they can stay connected with their peers. Now, a lot of teens and adolescents, they use their phone, FaceTime, phone calls, texting to stay connected. But there's also additional ways. Sometimes it's thinking outside of the box. Maybe that's, engaging with a friend or two on the porch or outside. Maybe that's having a weekly FaceTime call, something where they're able to stay connected with their friends that again, you feel comfortable with, that also maintains their safety. The biggest thing there is also making sure that we're allowing our teens and adolescents to have some consistent support and connection with their peers. The holidays can be such a difficult time for so many, in particular our elderly, especially through a pandemic, because we're having to, social distance and most of our elderly, because they may have some pre-existing conditions, are having to self-quarantine. So I think again, it's us thinking outside of the box in ways that they can stay connected with friends and family. Some ways that we can do this might be through a weekly phone call, FaceTime. This might be setting up an email account where friends and family can email on a regular basis. For our elderly that might not be tech savvy, again, it's us thinking of some additional ways that we can stay connected that might take a little bit more effort. So does that mean, if we have a family member that's elderly that lives locally, does that mean maybe we go out to their house and they sit on their porch and we sit in the yard and talk to them? Is that maybe they're sitting inside by a window or a screen door and we're able to see them through the door and talk on our phones? It's not the same as in person, but we have to think uniquely during these difficult times in ways that we can stay connected and again that we, that we're comfortable with, but also maintains our safety. Seasonal affective disorder is a real thing for so many. The fall and winter months can be very difficult because it gets darker earlier. Most people feel like they can be less productive during those times because it gets darker earlier. The other thing is, again, the holidays can bring on a difficult time for those that are dealing with grief. So some ways that we can help our parents stay connected during the winter months is that maybe through light therapy. There's light therapy lamps that sometimes actually create those good emotions and feelings for people that deal with SAD. It might even be something simply as, opening up doors and windows and blinds in the house during the day to let more sunlight in. Is that maybe increased time outside? It may even be taking extra vitamin D during the winter months or the fall months to kind of give your body just a little extra oomph during those months that you may be lacking some of that vitamin D, which does affect our overall energy and sometimes can affect our mood. I think if we have experienced a trauma or grief around the holidays, again, this can be very complex because normally the holidays would be a happy time. Oftentimes we can feel conflicted when we're moving forward in our lives to enjoy the holidays when we've had such grief or trauma in the past. So I think it's not only processing that grief and trauma, again, with support systems or with even licensed professional help if you're willing to do that, but I think it's also includes trying to find ways that you can stay connected to your loved ones during the holidays. So what does that look like for you? How can you stay connected to those that are no longer here physically, but how can you stay connected emotionally and mentally? Is that doing something in their honor? Is that doing something, again, that you can change something that was maybe very traumatic for you into something a little bit more positive that helps you in that moving forward process? During the holidays, I encourage everyone to strive for balance. So even good things can be overwhelming, and oftentimes the people we love the most can also maybe stress us out the most. So I think it's important for you in the upcoming holidays is to navigate, what do you feel comfortable doing and what maybe do you need to say no to. It's okay to set healthy boundaries and sometimes say no, or to sometimes simply not attend something. It is important for you to communicate those boundaries with friends and family. Let them know what you plan to be at. Let them know what you don't plan to be at. Again, family and friends may not always like or understand, but hopefully they will learn to respect your boundaries and what you feel like is best for you. Again, the holidays for so many of us can be overwhelming. I do recommend striving for some balance. I think it's important as a family or even as an individual to try to navigate what you want most from the holidays. Is that spending time with friends and family? Is that doing certain activities? Is that maybe taking a step back from certain activities? Again, the key here is choosing what you feel like is best for you, what you are most comfortable with, and then communicating that with friends and family so that way you can strive for the best balance. Again, self-care is always essential and important. So during the holidays, don't forget to take care of yourself and pay attention to how are you sleeping, how are you eating, and how are you coping. Self-care is essential every day, all year round.